When you hear the name Kurt Cobain, a myriad of things can come to mind. He's been called every name in the book, from a sellout to legend to pioneer. Regardless of what you may think, it cannot be denied that Kurt Cobain and Nirvana left an indelible mark on pop culture and rock history. Kurt Cobain was a rock legend, but he was also an empath. He set an example of refusing to sell out as a person regardless of how well his music did, and maintained his integrity when he made it big, which is super admirable. A massive part of his life and his legacy that constantly seems to be exploited is his mental health, which is very problematic to say the least. But what often gets overlooked, which was also a massive part of his life and legacy, was his social activism. And also, just a disclaimer, this is not a place to entertain conspiracy theories or exploit the man's death. Any slander aimed at Francis or Courtney Love or any other members of Cobain's family will be blocked from this channel, okay? Thank you. Cobain was one of the few men in rock to set a shining example of male feminist and LGBTQ solidarity, especially during the 90s.
And I just always felt that they weren't treated equally, and they weren't treated with respect, especially because of the way that Aberdeen treated women. I mean, just in general, women are totally oppressed in small towns like that and all over America. But it took me years after, it took me many years after the fact of realizing that those were the things that were bothering me, and I was just starting to understand what really was pissing me off so much.
Even on Nirvana's earliest records, there were a myriad of songs that confronted violence against women and domestic abuse, like Been a Son and Sappy. And this trend continued throughout the evolution of their discography, with songs like Pennyroyal Tea, All Apologies, and Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle. Cobain was a staunch and unwavering LGBTQ ally. He got arrested at just 19 years old for spray painting the phrase "God is gay" on pickup trucks. And he was also an outspoken feminist. He was very close friends with many of the women who were the face of the 90s riot girl punk movement, like Toby Vale and Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill.
Any good biography of Kurt Cobain now acknowledges that he didn't come out of Hesher rock in the Pacific Northwest. He came out of feminist art punk, and he said it himself.
Nirvana headlined Rock for Choice, a series of benefit concerts for musicians to show their support for abortion rights, and also headlined other benefit concerts such as No on 9, to fight against a ballot initiative in the state of Oregon known as Measure 9, which perpetuated discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Nirvana even released a statement saying Measure 9 goes against American traditions of mutual respect and freedom, and Nirvana wants to do their part to end bigotry and narrow-mindedness everywhere. This was extremely admirable behavior, especially for the rock scene, and it was clearly coming from a genuine place. It was simply how he felt. And if you have any doubt at all about Cobain's stance on women's rights and LGBTQ rights, you need look no further than his journals. These notes he took down every day about how boys and men should be behaving made it extremely clear that not being sexist, racist, or homophobic, and just being anti-bigotry were characteristics that he viewed as the bare minimum for being a basic, decent human being. But for some reason, so many people forget that he had these beliefs. Because all anybody seems to be interested in is the myth of Kurt Cobain. They are interested in the idea of Kurt Cobain the legend, not Kurt Cobain the person. Kurt Cobain was ahead of his time in so many ways. Knowing that he cared about these issues should never be overlooked, because these issues still permeate a majority of our culture. And the music scene is only a microcosm of that. And I know there's obviously going to be many people who say, "But Izzy, why do we have to talk about Kurt Cobain's socio-political views? That doesn't matter. Why can't we just enjoy the music?" Well, actually, Many of these themes tied in to his music and were inextricable from the lyrical themes that he touched on. You can't just separate them. Kurt Cobain was the person who used his music as a vehicle to push his social activism, and that is why it's important to keep the messages that he pushed alive.